Welcome everyone, and well, just as we start, there's a bit of noise, and bear with us. I know you can hear us. I know you can, and if you can't, turn it up. Yeah, here Bishop alongside Big Brother. I call him. He doesn't know. I call him Big Brother because he's my big brother, right? Bishop, how are you?
I'm good. I feel aged now.
Hey, before you even start, because of that comment, I'm going to tell people a story about you.
Oh my God.
So, I once said to you, you're like my aunt, man. Do you remember that? You don't remember that?
No, I don't.
I'm going to remind you.
All right.
So, he'd say, how old are you? And I'd say, whatever it was, whatever the age was back then. And he'd say, what? You're a child, man. That's what he'd say.
Don't tell me that age again.
He'd say, you're a child, man. And I'd say, but Bishop, you're not that much old. Why are you making it like you're 50 years older than I am? Like, what's that about? And so I'd say, you're like my aunt, whom I discovered many years later. She wasn't even my aunt, actually. So it was like my cousin. But she seemed that much older because she was 18 or 19 years old.
Right.
And I was 10 and 11.
Right,
So,
right,
I mean, that's not much older, right?
It is.
Because as time goes on, when you're 30 and she's 40, it just seems like nothing, right? There you go. So, yeah. Big brother, aunt. Aged, he says.
Right.
Yeah, I want to take you back so you can kind of relive your youth a little bit. Of your 43 test matches, which was your favorite one?
It's a hard pick, really. It's probably the first. It was eventually the second, but the first completed one, because we played India in Guyana, and after 2 days it was rained off, so we didn't really we batted, and Richie Richardson scored 100 or something like that, and then we only bowled for like one session or less or something, and then the entire game was rained off. So the next game we went on to Barbados to play India, and it was still sort of a period for me to get acclimated to Test cricket amongst these great names, you know, Viv, Greenwich, Haynes, whatever, and I ended up getting a sixfer. And so that sort of introduction into Test cricket and having some success was important for me, because I'd always doubted whether I should be at that level. And to start off like that in a place like Barbados, where they don't suffer fools gladly, it's one that I won't forget, because it was really the start of my career.
Nice also that the other one gets rained off.
Yeah.
And you go to
Yeah, don't tell anyone. It's never been my favorite ground to play at.
Not so much because anyone has anything against it, but if your trade is gonna be, you know, you're gonna be you're gonna be at Guyana, or you're gonna be at Kensington, you know, like that's
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. You speak of the great names. Sir Viv would have been captain then?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like?
Viv he led differently, I would imagine, from one or two others. Clive Lloyd, he took over from Clive, who'd finished, I think, around 84, 85, and I came into the team, so Viv was captain. A very powerful, dynamic leader who led more by example. I don't remember having too many discussions with him. He just, like, he set the field, and as a youngster, I followed that. There was no need for me to say, like, Skip, I don't want this. It was just like, he said that and I bowled to it. But he was just like the epitome of that superhuman, that man that carried the weight of West Indies cricket on his batting shoulders. And so it was just great to follow him and to know that you're almost assured once he got out there that his skill level intimidated the opposition and stuff. So he was a different leader in that he had great bowlers with him in Marshall and Ambrose and Walsh and those guys, and then Lil Bishop bringing up the background. So to come into that environment under his leadership taught us a lot about Caribbean identity.
Like that, Bosa, actually. Marshall,
Leader.
Hey?
Leader.
Yeah.
Leader. Of the guys I play with, he's obviously the greatest tactical mind and I'm a fast bowler. You could stand at mid-off and he'd place me at mid-off and then he'd sort of like in state games, he'd tell me what he was going to bowl and to look carefully at what he was trying to do and he would explain things out, the late Malcolm Marshall. And so that was a great learning ground for me coming into the team. He sort of took me under his wing and did all the running and stuff, him and Courtney Walsh. If he went running, I'd have to go running behind them in practice and just learning from him. But I couldn't afford to sit, like they'd sit in the back of the dressing room, him, Viv, Dujan, and that was their thing. The youths
Not allowed.
couldn't go, not allowed. Not allowed.
And probably not told, just to work out that you're not allowed there.
You didn't have to ask.
Yeah.
It's like that, wherever we went, that's their space. You sit somewhere at the front, and I was okay with that.
I'll move you on from playing days. I don't want to talk about the end or whatever it is. I'll move you on from playing days to sitting in commentary boxes, which we've done together for some time now, actually. Your view of the game from then and your view of the game, perhaps I should say soon after coming off the field, and what it is now. So its evolution as you've sat on the side and watched it.
I wish I'd sort of gotten into the commentary box a little bit while I was playing, actually, because you see so much. Many things that I was caught up in emotionally on the field, I didn't have a chance to step back because I'm very intense. I was very intense when I was on the field. I couldn't get into laughter and stuff. I'm very focused on the job, but now, after leaving the game and seeing it from a different perspective and seeing the transition and how technology has been embraced in the game and how much more helpful it is, that I wish I had it as a player, ball tracking and pitch mapping data. We never really had for example, a coaching system around our team that was that advanced. You know, you did a lot of things from memory in team meetings and stuff. So I really appreciate the structure now that teams have with technology, first of all, with analytics, and just to be able to decipher opposition batters or bowlers through visuals rather than just recollection. I like where the game has gone. I like that there is so much assistance now for players to be able to fine-tune their skill.
Okay. Maybe flip it the other way and talk about the stuff that goes on the field as well. Leadership. I said about Viv that must have been interesting, and you sort of told me about how he was. Tell me of its importance.
I think leadership is very, very important. And whether I take leadership from the microcosm of a family man, and we both have young families, and its similarities where cricket is concerned, coming into the team in 1988, again, I didn't feel that I belonged there. I was surprised that I was actually selected to be there. So it was important for the leaders, not only but the leaders of the team, to sort of make me feel embraced. First of all, to have a culture within that team that I had to follow, and that was a culture of fitness. I just had to see Greenwich and Haynes and Marshall and Dujan and Walsh doing numerous laps around the ground. That was a big thing back then. And knowing that I had to follow that. Knowing that I had to follow the disciplines and the preparation without it being said to me. To me, that was unspoken leadership. And then from Viv's lead on the field, where it was a no-nonsense, hard-edged, hard-nosed, not suffering fools gladly, set the template for our group, including myself, to follow, to try to carry on that legacy. So I think leadership definitely gives me something that I need to follow. You can't say one thing to me and do something else.
Right.
I'm not following that.
Right. There is a photograph. It was actually, I suppose it wasn't just a photograph, it was on the television. I think I might have been doing the game, and you might have just been watching on the television.
Yes,
It might be that way around or the other way around, whichever way. But the photograph is of MS Dhoni after Chennai match, and the result is not significant because I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But what kind of stayed in my head was this guy who's standing there pretty much like a guru with these youngsters all around him and eating literally out of the palm of his hand. And I remember your remark that kind of how good it was to see him impart whatever it was he was imparting to what is effectively the next generation. On that, and also going back to what you're talking about with regard to information availability now and the learning of the game for youngsters, tell me of the ease or difficulty of kind of entry into the game and kind of knowing your direction, and I suppose learning it. You know, here's Dhoni, here's all this information that you have, here's how you're supposed to be doing it. Is it a lot, is it a little, is it good, what are your thoughts on all of these big figures that you kind of turn up with, and whether it's in change rooms or in the change rooms next door?
No, I think those things are important to see, and I think I was watching the game and to see, and Dhoni's just one example of what excellent leaders should be like, because I came into the game, for example, I use my experience, I came into the game in 1988 West Indies tour, and I thought I knew. I really thought I knew.
Don't we all when we're young?
And then I got into that tour and I realized I don't know. And had it not been for the leadership of Malcolm Marshall to tell me, yo, you can't be bowling that length the same way you did in domestic cricket back home. This is different. These are better players. You have to be more patient in setting up a wicket. You can't get a wicket every ball, that sort of thing. And to be able to pass on how to prepare, because I thought I prepared well, but that was another step up. And I'm sure those young kids who were chatting to Dhoni got a better understanding of when to do what in their, as they move through their career, the impact of, let's say, proper diet. And Dhoni would help them, which Marshall sort of passed on to me and Walsh, how to avoid making some of the mistakes, the pitfalls that they would probably have made. And I think that is so important if young people are willing to listen to that. I think mentoring, Pommie, is a huge, huge thing. And that's what I've tried to pass on to guys like Ravi Rampal. Like to show them what's important to me is to show young people that that goal there can be an aspiration of yours. Let me just quickly tell you, I remember Ravi Rampal, I was a manager of an under-15 team in Trinidad and Tobago, and he was made Trinidad and Tobago under-15 team for the first time. And we were walking down the streets in Guyana, where the tournament was held. And I just looked at him and I said, you know, you can play for West Indies one day because he's very talented. And he looked at me and he was like stunned. Because nobody had really ever let him know that he was that good and he could go that far. And to me, that's what leadership, part of what leadership is, speaking prophetically into the lives of people, positive things, and showing them what they can be.
How did that change him?
Give him something to aim for. And not just with him, but with several people, because we know we have to throw the rope back over the shoulder and pull others along, and it costs nothing, right? Just a little, my own experience as well. I said it on social media, but I was just going through life as a teenager, coming from really humble beginnings, and I didn't think that I could play for West Indies. I just loved playing cricket. You turn up and you play cricket, and it was the intervention of people at key times in my life. Phil Simmons, who was a West Indies A player at the time, heard about me, saw me. Then I played my first-class game, second first-class game against Marshall in Ghana. And I'd heard, I went for a truckload of runs. It was like Bishop was everywhere getting to the oval. And I got one wicket for must nearly be 100 or something. But I heard that Marshall in Ghana and Phil Simmons before that, and then a little bit later Michael Holding, had some positive things to say about me. He said, he's got some talent, that kid. You know, he can go far. And that changed me.
Wow.
That made me suddenly believe, oh, he said that? Maybe that's something to aim for. And it's the same thing with Ravi and one or two others.
Yeah.
And that's why I think mentoring by leadership is a critical thing.
I want you to delve into it a little bit more. And many would say there is truth, but a lot of the time, who tells it to you is significant.
Yeah.
And so were it not Holding or Marshall or Garner, you know, Simmons, who are saying, oh, have you seen that Bishop kid? He's okay, he's got talent. If they don't say it, you know, I suppose it doesn't hit as hard. So the question essentially then is, should we be making sure that where there is a semblance of talent, where there are these youngsters who we think, oh, that one, it looks okay. Should we going to fetch someone to come and say, hey, listen, talk to this guy?
I think so. We sit in the broadcast box together, and I know that you've always kept an eye, for example, on Zimbabwe cricket, as much as South Africa is now your home, and you work a lot and around that team. And what we have said as past players, I wonder if we understand the impact. If we say something negatively, how that impacts a young player, my daughter, your son. There's a way that I can say, Angel, you haven't had a great day. You made a mistake there, but you're young. You will make these mistakes. But in the future, this is what you need to do to be better. You have no idea the power of your voice and what that means to people, parents, what a teacher. Man, I had a principal who was a business teacher who was so loving and kind for me for no reason. And because she was kind to me, I got into principle of business like
you can't believe.
Listen, I enjoyed it, right?
Yeah.
So I say that to say we are teachers, and our voice is out there, and even at the expense of maybe making, let's say, making them aim for the moon or the stars, and if they fall short, they land on the moon. It's a little bit of pressure sometimes, but I prefer to do that and give them something positive to aim for rather than tearing them down. So
Or letting them wander aimlessly.
aimlessly.
Yeah.
It takes nothing to build up, and I see it now with one or two other cricketers that we and I have had the blessed opportunity to just encourage along the way. And I think that's what is important for me, encouraging.
Yeah, as we sit here, you're just done with the Under-19 World Cup.
Yeah.
It's a tournament we both love, actually.
Yeah.
I don't love it necessarily for the television part. I don't know that. I can say that because it's an oxymoron. That's what I do. That's how I see it, right? That's the only way I see it. But sometimes I have this, I don't know, tussle with whether some of them who are there are ready to be put on a big stage. And were it not for that big stage, would they then actually come through? So in a year or 2 years from now, would they be good? But not doing it would hold some back who already are ready and can go. And there's no perfect place, there's no perfect way, you know? But sometimes I watch and I think, oh, you know what, this is great. I'm loving seeing these kids. But that one and that one and that, they're not quite ready to be here, you know? So, and not because they're not good, they will be good. You can see, oh, just time, you know? And others are ready, they're flying, you know? And that's the way of the world, I guess. I mean, that's just how it goes. Tell me of your, one, enjoyment of it this time around, and with your keen eye on, I don't want you to say who, because that kind of puts a bit of pressure on them. They're those who are obvious. They're those who are obvious, whom I've watched as well in between the work I've had to do. But, yeah. But I want you to compare it with times past. You know, if we said 10% of the guys come through pretty much straight after. So an example, a Rabada who comes through straight away, and a Markram who comes through that bit later, but they're from the same tournament. A Coley back in the day, and I'm trying to think who else sort of within his year, but comes through a little bit later. Some come through early, some. So as you've watched this time around, what you've thought?
I think it's most talented group that I've seen us do, and that's going back a few tournaments now, because you see the skill set they come with now. That skill set wasn't apparent in 2016, let's say, because they watch the seniors and they imbibe everything that the seniors do on television through technology. I've seen some fast bowling in this tournament. This has been the deepest tournament of fast bowling that I've seen. I'm not afraid to say Queen Mapaka.
It's no shock, by the way, that the first thing he talks about is fast bowling. It's not a shock to anyone.
I talk about batting. I don't have any credence with batting. But no, I've seen some batters as well. But I've seen the fast bowling definitely is deeper, and the skill set the guys come with, the maturity they've come with now, because they've got a lot more coaches, they've got a lot more technology to prepare them. They understand to a greater depth. At that same age, I had no idea about some of the things and how to adjust and how to adapt and how to break down opponents as they did. And so I'm really proud some of the Pakistani kids. Whew, they're definitely going to play international cricket. The Australian kids, talked about Quina and one or two others throughout the tournament, one from the West Indies, Isaiah Thorne and those guys. So really happy to see the future of the game is in good hands. And again, that goes right back to preparation, leadership, how one of the kids talked about working with the great Dennis Lilly as his coach and showing him as someone who's done it what he needs to do, who loves Pat Cummins, who's modeled their game after Kahiso Rabada. So many idols, and those idols are leaders in their own right. So I think we have to recognize that responsibility, and if we handle that well enough, we can bring the next generation through.
The difficulty or ease of the entry point into the game, and I speak about this because I had a conversation, I'm trying to think how long ago was it? Must be a year ago. Might not be, it might be less. I think it is a year ago, actually. No, I lie. It's at the end of the year. And I was talking about what I've termed early retirements. And even though I'm talking of that end of the game, I'm also still very much talking about the entry points, because both of those are affected by where the game is. Oh, got it. Where the game is, and how the game is, and what's on offer to all who seek to play it and play it at as high a level as they can. So, yeah, and what was proffered by Director of Cricket in South Africa was that they're going to have what is flexible contracting and not be as rigid and sort of old school, but kind of come to a place where they have some sort of understanding with all sorts of players. So speak of the youth, and what they find and how they come in, and an instance of, oh, I want to play IPL, but I don't necessarily want to play, you know, test matches for West Indies or for Zimbabwe or for South Africa, you know?
It's a tough one, isn't it? The landscape is evolving and changing so much, and what we lived in 30 years ago, we can't expect this generation to live the same way, because this is a job, right? This is a job for them. All of this sort of nationalistic desire to see guys represent their country, we first have to understand that this is their career. The doctors go to work, the lawyers go to work, the teachers go to work, the bus driver goes to work. These guys are entering into a career where they're going to work. They may work for the country in terms of the expectation of a nation is upon their shoulder, but I would ask people to also recognize they have families, they have to secure their financial future. So options are out there. And there's one young fast bowler in the Caribbean now who's taken the world by storm. Shamar Joseph has come from absolutely nothing.
Brilliant, by the way.
Absolutely nothing.
What?
A little community across the river in Berbice, Baracara. So now he's come in and he's taken the world by storm with his test match bowling. But will you begrudge him now if he says, I want to go to this league or that league to earn $500,000 so I can secure my 2 little kids, my partner, get a house.
And my whole family.
And my whole family. And my community.
Yeah.
Can't begrudge him. So I think boards are now starting to wake up and realize South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, Pakistan can't pay these guys.
New Zealand. Who have recognized it, by the way.
First and foremost. That we can't keep them. And so just allow them quid pro quo, compromise, and allow these guys on the one hand to secure their financial future for themselves and their families, but still create an environment and a culture where they want to come back and play for the country which produced them in the first place. Landscape is tough, and that's where people like yourself and the past players and myself have to be able to advise these kids how they carry themselves. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget how you got there, the platform, while you secure your financial future, because they're going to go through growing pains, Pommie. They're going to go through growing pains.
I think the pains are more for the boards, really, and more for the rigid mindsets of those who are within organizations who perhaps don't buy into, and I don't say this to kind of put blame on anyone. I don't think so. I think
it's just what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, and sometimes you just don't have the view, right? The perspective.
Right.
Whilst you understand that, you know, I mean, who would scoff at $1 million? Who would scoff at $500,000? Who would scoff at $200,000? Nobody, right? Because that's a lot of money. But secondly, not many countries, and leave aside India, Australia, England, not many countries are pulling out $200,000 and giving to a guy just like that. Not for 8 weeks' work, not for a month's work somewhere. It's not happening, right? And so the tussle, I believe, and the growing pains for those in organizations that are supposed to be custodians of the game within various countries are holding on to this nationalistic, as you said, notion that says country comes first, right? And so because country comes first, they believe many should forsake all else. And it's not that they would forsake it themselves. It's just they're in the position. And because they're in the position, they probably do what they think they ought to, instead of create this new system that takes cognizance of the fact that things have changed a long time ago. And I think that's hard. Change is constant, but can be so slow. Within bureaucratic organizations, like to sit people on a board down and say, hey guys, we have no contracted players. Well, they'd be like, whoa, 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 what? Nah, surely we can get some contract. Well, what do you need them for? They don't want your contract. The ones we want to play for the country don't want your contract because it ties them down. But they want to play for the country. And so dissonance, right? Like, because you say, well, are they really going to be telling us when they want to play? Well, what choice do you have as an organization? You don't have any choice. But this control is what is desired. And it's desired by those who are in organizations. The player also wants to control his own self and what he does and his time. So it makes difficulty.
The one thing I'd say to administrators, to just sort of, and to viewers and to fans to bring this alive is that administrative bodies, whether it's a corporate entity or board, operate on a bottom line. They do rightly what is best to improve their revenue streams so that they can function properly. So the bottom line, the dollar is important to administrators, therefore it's the same principle.
Yeah.
The bottom line is important.
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose. That's not a, I don't think that is anything anyone can debate.
No, they can't function without money. So
correct.
Quid pro quo. So the same hat you're wearing as an administrator, and I understand administration is terribly challenging. Just also bear in mind that as much as you are trying to improve your revenue streams and increase it to make sure that you're in the black and not in the red, player has to look that way as well.
Yeah, I said I'd throw you a curveball question. It's not a curveball question at all, actually. It's just an insight into Bishop. I wonder if there is something you are passionate about, aside from cricket, aside from your family. We've got to take it for granted that he's passionate about his family, right? Of course, that people are, right? Like, it comes first, right? Is there something you're passionate about that people don't know?
I don't think anybody doesn't know. I mean, the only thing I'm really passionate about at my age now.
Here he goes again. And by the way, Bish decided that his room needs to get sorted out and they're drilling and stuff right now. I mean, I don't know. He could have decided for like an hour later, but he decided this is the time to do it. So, sorry if you can hear that noise there, you know. Nothing we can do about it. He needs to get his pictures put up and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing my real passion in life now is to make people around me and people I come into contact with feel good about themselves, and wherever I go to try to leave a mark where people are in a better place than when I came into their environment. I've had a great life, and that starts with my kids. I enjoy my job. I've been blessed as we have to do that. But my big thing now is wherever I go, if it's the guy at the hotel door, if it's the taxi driver, to try to impart some joy into that person's life. If I'm meeting a young player or one of my peers, younger guys, girls who I'm working with, to try to make their life a little bit better, whether that be by a smile, a word of advice, and really that's just my whole function right now. I don't have any of these like build a business or build a website or stuff passionate like that. I love basketball. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's something else would come. I'd say that's just your character, the stuff you're talking about. Well, There might be others who disagree, who know you differently, but I just kind of know, I know you to kind of do that, you know, from way back.
But that's important.
Yeah.
That's important. You know that. I mean, you've helped me along the way to recognize certain things and to teach me how to go about dealing with people. I'm not a people person per se. I'm happy in my room. I'm never coming out until I have to go to work.
You're not.
But
private, that's going to be a private check. There are many who will have no idea what we're on about. It's okay. It's going to stay that way.
I'm just learning too. I'm just learning, Pommie. I have an infinite desire to learn, a growth mindset every day to learn about my job, my sport, my family, how to be better. That is my passion.
And do you think that's a new thing? And when I say new, it can be new from a certain time. Were you different 5 years ago? Were you different 10 years ago? Were you different a year ago? In that aspect?
Yeah, I don't think I placed as much significance on it. I was sailing through life for a while and just going about day to day. And then I suddenly came into, I think, this career. Once I started this career, I realized I always wanted to be a teacher. If I wasn't playing cricket, I wanted to be a teacher.
What would you have taught?
I'm not sure, principle of business. English, anything really. And as I got into, I did my MA in Mass Communications. I wanted to teach media as well, because I just like knowing more and more and more about people and about life itself. So research is never a chore. So
hey, good quality in the job we do. If research isn't a chore, I can tell you, it's time consuming. And it's not quite a chore to me, but it's very close to being. Despite also wanting to know and loving information. Okay, well, final point, and come back to the cricket, the state of it. Where is it, you think, world cricket, and what would you change about it?
The one thing I'd like to see change in the game is the economic model change, and I understand that there are parameters that are set and itineraries that are set until 2027 or whenever the case is. But 30 years ago, West Indies taught Australia, 40 years ago, and the gate receipts were shared. Whatever television revenue was shared. Now, West Indies, as Johnny Grave, the CEO, has pointed out quite logically, our revenue stream is between 50 and 70 million a year. We sent 4 teams to Australia in 2023-24. That cost maybe close to $3 million. That's just for that trip, right? Of your 50 million, 3 is already gone, and then you have to finance grassroots. South Africa would have encountered the same thing, Sri Lanka, New Zealand. So that model works for the big 3 because they've got a huge television entity, television revenue rights. People come to the games. India.
Yeah.
So you make very limited money so your money is made when teams come to your home. But
nobody wants to come.
Nobody wants to come, and the only tours that bring people are England and India. And that's why people want them coming regularly. So the imbalance there then impacts your structure, your facilities, your ability, everything.
Yeah, because it's slow burn, isn't it? So you might think, oh, it doesn't matter because they haven't been this year, they'll come in 4 years' time. But the next time they come, the 4 years of dilapidation, neglect of one thing or the other. Right? So this time, okay, you know, take from Peter, pay Paul. Next time, take from Paul, pay Peter. But 2 years have passed. What you take is not going to be, it's not what you'll need to fix what you left alone. You're going to need double because
absolutely,
and that keeps going, and over time it compounds.
And you think about the landscape now with so much franchise cricket out there. Those big 3 nations, God bless them, are able to contract their players huge retainer contracts to try to keep them as home as much as possible. The teams below can't do it. They don't have the money to do it. And that's why the model. So when people see Pollard and Russell and those West Indian guys or player X going off to the IPL, going off to the PSL, You can't keep them at home because you don't have that money to pay them to stay home.
Yeah.
Whereas the bigger nations are able to, multi-year contracts are coming in. And England have recognized they're not immune. They're not immune from players drifting. So they're offering now multi-year magnanimous contracts to their players. Landscape is changing tough.
Yeah. That's something to think about as we go. It's just triggered too many thoughts actually in my head. Like, yeah, and one of them being who needs to be at a round table to plot the way forward, you know? To have this discussion about, you know, how can we make sure that maybe not everything survives, but that the game survives, and the game can only survive if it is played everywhere, right? And played in more places and more places, rather than kind of shrinked to less places.
So I'll end that on a leadership thing for you, and I'll say this: the best leadership is you asking me, how can you help me? What's happening? What can I do to make your space better? What can the West Indies do to make the USA space better? What can South Africa do to make New Zealand space better, rather than fans jumping down on players? Let's understand from a leadership point of view what's happening there. How can I help? Even within the team, how are you playing today? How did your week go? How can I help you?
That's a communal living, community living. Know about everyone, care about
Correct.
everyone.
Correct.
Ooh,
Correct.
in this world.
True. True. True.
I don't know about that.
He's killed me.
I agree with you, but whoa.
That's the challenge, Poms. You see that reaction there? That's the challenge.
I would do it. I'm just like you. I give the next man some bread.
Yeah.
Show him how to fake it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
But I know that the world needs more convincing,
A whole lot of it.
to be that way. So I hope. There is always hope. We're gonna end it on that note. Hey, subscribe. In fact,
Just tell them to subscribe.
it's called
Mbangwa Media.
They've gotta subscribe, and they will if you tell them.
Please subscribe to Mbangwa Media. It's a chance to learn, it's a chance to listen, it's a chance to contribute as well to the development of everyone amongst us. Doesn't take much.